Hello, folks. As a QA, you would have heard about end-to-end or E2E testing. In this video, I will guide you through what end-to-end testing is, why it's important, and how effectively you can implement it in your software project. So let's begin with understanding what is end-to-end testing. End-to-end testing refers to testing the software from end user's perspective. It checks whether all the modules of the software can run as expected under the real world scenarios. The main idea behind end-to-end testing is to simulate the end user experience in the application from start to finish. Let's take an example of a banking application to perform an end-to-end testing. So considering this banking application where different modules like registration, login, accounts module, transaction module, payments module, and reports were built in isolation. In isolation means different modules were built in different as a part of different components. Different developers worked on it, and every developer considered the features and the functionality as per the user story, and they have implemented it by writing the unit or the integration and whatever test they wanted. And similarly, the QA has also in isolation, like particular module has been tested from the functionality point of view only. Considering the end-to-end testing, we should perform a complete test of the end-to-end user journey, beginning from registration, then checking the login functionality, verifying the accounts module by creating a new bank account, performing transactions like transferring money to different accounts, and checking the status report of the transaction. All these tests simulate the end user interaction and allows us to check for the issues in the application while using it from start to finish. Now, what is the goal of end-to-end testing? The goal of end-to-end testing is to check whether all the modules of the software can run as expected under real-world scenario. Another objective is to uncover the hidden issues and fix them before we deliver the software to production. For example, performing an end-to-end test of a loan application that allows users to manually fill in the details and check the eligibility of the loans. It is necessary to perform end-to-end testing as the end user would be using the application to ensure that the end user would be able to complete the journey without any hiccups. It is necessary to perform end-to-end testing as the end user would be using the application to ensure that the end user would be able to complete the journey without any hiccups. End-to-end testing would also allow us to get a feedback on the overall user experience. When to perform end-to-end testing? Let's start with the test strategy first. Ideally, end-to-end testing should be performed at the end of the software development lifecycle. Majority of the tests should be shifted to unit test following the integration and service level test. Finally, the end-to-end testing would be performed. As per Google testing blog, Google suggests a 70-20-10 split. That is 70% unit test, 20% integration test, and 10% end-to-end test. The exact mix will be different for each team. But in general, it should retain that pyramid shape. In short, unit test at the bottom. Next level, we have the integration test. And at the top of these two, we have end-to-end test. Talking about the different stages of end-to-end testing. There are three different phases to perform end-to-end testing. The first phase is planning, then we have the testing, and then finally test closure. In the testing phase, we have two subphases that are prerequisite and test execution. In the next slides, we will be talking about this stage one by one in detail. Talking about the planning stage. Planning phase. In the planning phase, we should understand the business and functional requirements, create test plan based on the requirement analysis, create test cases for end-to-end testing scenarios. We should understand the test journey in the application, like how the end user will use the application from start to finish. All the happy parts should be noted down, and accordingly, test cases should be designed. For example, from an e-commerce application point of view, a simple test journey would be registering the user in the application and checking that the user auto logs in after the registration is successful, searching a product from the home page, adding a product to the cart, verifying the product price, checking out the product, making the payment, check order confirmation, like user receives the order confirmation on email or SMS or whatever system that is been designed for. Accordingly, this journey would consider that the end-to-end user, if the user performs a end-to-end transaction from the application, it should be successful. Similarly, other test journeys could also be prepared when user adds the product to a cart and logs out of the application. Then after some time logs in again and continues from where he left off, and so on. So all these journeys should be considered as a part of end-to-end testing to make sure our application handles all of the related functionalities and the features without any hiccups, and the user would be able to use the application without any error. In the planning phase, we should also consider about setting up production-like environment to simulate the real-world scenario, test data setup, define entry and exit criteria, get the test cases, entry exit criteria reviewed by the business analyst or product owner. The review part is an important part here in the planning phase, as if we can review this particular entry and the exit criteria as well as the test cases or the test journeys scenarios that we have written for the end-to-end test by the business analyst or a product owner, it would help us in uncovering more business functionalities, because these people know the business more, and they could help us in adding up more test journeys so that we can validate all those journeys to make more application more pleasing and having a real world experience within the application itself before we release it to the production. There are two subphases in the testing phase: prerequisite and test execution. Let's talk about prerequisite. In this stage, we should make sure that all the feature development is complete. All the submodules and components of the application should be integrated and working fine. System testing should be complete for all the related subsystems in the application. Production like test environment should be up and running. Next comes the test execution part. In this stage, the testing team executes the test cases, reports bugs in case of test failures, retests the bugs once it is fixed, and rerun all the end-to-end tests to ensure all tests are working as expected. Once the test execution is complete, we come to the test closure phase. In this phase, we should analyze the test results, prepare test report, evaluate exit criteria, and then perform a sign off, considering that all the test cases or the journeys and the scenarios related to end-to-end test cases are working fine and there are no major issues in the application, and hence we can consider it as a sign off. So the application is actually ready for production. The end-to-end test can be either manually executed or using automation. For automation, we need to design a test strategy as to how the end-to-end test will flow and accordingly write automation test scripts. For better performance and faster feedback, the end-to-end automation test should be driven in the CI/CD pipelines. Now let's talk about an end-to-end testing example from API testing point of view. For this, we will be using the RESTful Booker application. So let me open the website. This is the RESTful Booker website. It's a demo APIs available for free. You can use it for automation as well as for manual testing to check for the different API workflows. On the left-hand pane, you can see there are 6 main APIs. That is creating a token, getting a booking, creating a booking, updating a booking, partially updating a booking, and deleting a booking. If we were to perform end-to-end testing of all these APIs, we should first analyze these APIs about the requirement, usage, and technical details. For example, if you check the documentation, the get booking API is used to fetch the booking based on the booking ID supplied. It takes a booking ID parameter, and based on this ID, it will fetch the details of the bookings. A create booking API is used for creating a new booking. The create token API is used for getting the auth token that can be used in the update and the delete booking APIs. Similarly, the update and the partial update booking APIs are used for updating a respective booking. In update, you can update all of the fields. In the partial update, there is a patch API which is used for updating the details partially in the bookings. And finally, the delete booking API is used for deleting the booking. If we talk about creating a test strategy, basically an automation test strategy for performing an end-to-end testing for these APIs, considering all of these APIs, we can come up with a test strategy to perform end-to-end testing as follows, like creating a new booking using create booking API, then fetching the newly added booking using get booking API. As you can see, the booking create booking API, in the response, it gives us a booking ID. The same booking ID can be used in the get booking API to fetch that newly created booking. Next, we can use the same ID to update the same booking. Again, we can update the booking that is already created by using the same booking ID. And finally, we can check by deleting the booking which we created by supplying the booking ID that we created. And finally, to verify that the ID has been deleted successfully, what we can do is we can again call this get booking API by supplying the ID. Here we should expect that the response code or the status code written for this get should be 404, like not found, because we considering the delete API, if it's working fine, that means that particular booking is deleted and it's not available in the system. You can see we used all the major APIs to perform end-to-end testing as a real-world scenario. Similarly, we can perform end-to-end testing of a website or a mobile application. The only point is to note that we should study and analyze the application as an end user would be using it, and accordingly create the test scenarios and get them reviewed by the BA or the product owner in the team. That's all about end-to-end testing from this video. Do like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Thank you.